Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to another episode of the Hardcore Casual with your boy, Bass the Kid. Now, unfortunately, I'm doing things a little bit different today. Broke my stand last week. I'm waiting for a replacement to arrive. So yeah, doing things a little bit different. Haven't been active this week. To be fair, it hasn't been a great week overall, and I've been hella busy with some stuff outside of the world of boxing, but I've been keeping my ear to the streets. So I think the first thing we'll do, just talk about the action from, when was it, last night, and also I guess the biggest talking point that's taken place this week as well. I don't know, we'll get there. But yeah, without further ado, start the show. Now, I was actually at the O2 yesterday, but I wasn't there for the Matchroom card with Chisora and Pulev. I was actually at a Muay Thai Grand Prix event that was taking place at the Indigo across the hall. So I left there about 6 o'clock, 6:30. Rushed up to Luton where I had a little family gathering, and then while I was there, I threw on the boxing, and I managed to catch the Madrimov Soro fight and the premature stoppage of that. Yeah, very gruesome head clash. Yeah, streaming blood. So I mean, it was the right call to make to call off the fight. But I mean, what do we now have to see that one for a third time? I don't know. Moving on from that, I did watch the full main event between Chisora and Pulev, and I will be honest, I didn't do predictions this week. On the breakdown earlier on with Tony on the Undefeated podcast channel, I was saying I didn't really see much ways that Chisora would win the fight, but I ultimately said I'll make my predictions obviously later on when I do basis picks, which I never got around to doing. I was seeing some things throughout the week though that was slightly changing my opinion a little bit, but I was undecided going into it. So ultimately, I didn't actually make a prediction. Look, all the sensible money goes on Pulev. Beating him before, is of a higher level, generally speaking, has been active and is coming off of 2 victories after his last defeat, whereas you've got Chisora coming off of back-to-back losses. But obviously you've also got the age discrepancy between the two. I mean, Chisora's 38, going to be 39 in December, and you've got Pulev that's 41, is 42 later on this year or early next year, one of the two. So it was really about who basically had more left. And watching the fight, Pulev looked like he had more left than Derek, but Derek just looked like he wouldn't be denied as such. He got hurt several times in that fight, probably a lot more even than it looked like he got hurt in the Parker fight when he ended up dropped or staggered into the ropes 3 times. But I've always said to people, one thing about Pulev is you're not really going to get knocked out by Pulev. And even in the 7th round when Derek Chisora got badly wobbled, Pulev was never going to have enough of an arsenal to get him out of there. I mean, the knockout percentage on its own tells you, he's got the great jab, but after the jab there's virtually nothing else there. And even the jab wasn't really jabbing the way it usually does last night. Part of that is Derek was using that cross guard defense, sort of the bobbing and weaving, so it makes the jab a lot harder to land. But he was catching him more with those bolo uppercuts and those sort of those trajectory hooks that he was throwing. So I mean, overall, I wasn't scoring it round by round, so I'm not even gonna lie and say I was just kind of watching the overall feel of it, and sort of the first few rounds just looked kind of close. It could have been anyone's fight. I feel like Pulev kind of took over in the mid rounds, but Derek just he sort of rallied back towards sort of the back end of the fight. And ultimately the scorecards, I mean, it's funny because in the first fight they had, Derek had a split decision defeat, although everyone that watches that fight said that Pulev won that fight convincingly, so there's no way you could have given him the rubber, the green net. But Derek has also had many times where he has been on the wrong side of a very, very bad decision. Maybe outside politics has something to do with that, but on this particular occasion that wasn't the case. He got the rubber, the green. It looked like it was a type of fight whereby I can't really begrudge him winning, and obviously, as much as I'm not a huge fan of his, you know, another Capricorn, so I give him his props. He's got a bit of life left in him. Called out Wilder after the fight, said he wants that. I could actually see Wilder taking that fight, but I've maintained before that those two together, I mean, yeah, it could be a recipe for disaster, but I would actually give Derek Chisora very good odds to do well and even survive that fight, especially if he sticks on Wilder's chest just like he does with most other people. But that's a story for another time. Overall, look, congrats to Del Boy. Like, it literally is what they say, he's like a cat with 9 lives. Every time you think he's out, he ends up pulling it back out the bag, and he's just extended his career for another year now. At least people will look to see him again in his next fight, whoever that may be. But yeah, congrats to him. I'll touch very, very briefly on the Mark Magsayo versus Rey Vargas fight. I haven't seen it yet, but I've seen the result. I won't say I'm shocked, but I am surprised at what I saw. Like, that's not how I expected things to go. I need to see the fight to assess exactly how it was, but from what I can tell, Rey Vargas got off the floor in the 9th round, but he managed to do enough to win a split decision victory, and I think that now makes him a 3 division champion. I have to double check, but I mean, congrats to him. I can't really say much more than that. I'm going to be checking out that card a little later on today once I come back from the gym, sort myself out, do a couple other things. I'll sit down and watch that because I'm going to need to know everything about that. But yeah, like, congrats to Rey Vargas, and Mark Magsayo looks like he's back to the drawing board. Them's the breaks, I suppose. Last thing I want to address today is the drama that's going on between Lawrence Okolie and Eddie Hearn. Now, we all saw from the Boxing Voice podcast, what was it, about 2 weeks ago, when Lawrence Okolie was basically alluding to, oh, well, yeah, I'm still with Matchroom for now, 258, can't really talk about it, blah, 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 but alluding to the fact that something was going on, and either he wasn't happy or he wasn't looking to be with them for much longer. So Eddie Hearn subsequently came out and basically said, well, look, he's got 1 fight left on his current contract with us. He got an offer from Sky to make him, quote unquote, the face of Boxer. And then he put out some tweets about Eddie Hearn alluding to the fact that basically, like, he's a slave master, you know, just making his people fight for his own gain or something along those lines. Now, it's funny because if you look at the press conference between Dillian Whyte and Oscar Rivas, and obviously Barry Hearn did say back then, like, you know, boxers have got a lot more rights now than they used to, because back in the day, like, they were the slaves and we were the slave owners. Not a great use of words, but I understood exactly what he meant. Like, the boxers didn't have rights, you just had to kind of do what you had to do. You got paid, but you had no real say in who you were fighting. When you was fighting, you just got given the dates and you just went out and done it. Things have changed now, but clearly Lawrence Okolie doesn't believe so for whatever reason. Now, he keeps putting on social media, like, I can't say anything legally right now, but when I can, I will, and everyone will understand the truth and whatnot. But from the outside looking in, I find it hard to understand what his potential issue is, outside of not getting the unification fights that he wants. which, okay, I get that. That can be very frustrating. You want breeders to come through. You want Gulamari and you want Makabu. You can't get any of them. Can't even get Riyad Murti at the moment. Yeah, I can see that as being really, really frustrating. But how does that make Eddie now a slave? What is it because you've had to defend your title against people you didn't want to do it against? And is that what it is? Or he's made you fight these people that you don't want to fight, that you can't get up for? Well, let's look. You won a vacant title against Glavatsky, who, if I remember correctly, was coming off of COVID, which is why it got postponed in the first place. So you got given a virtual easy touch to win your world title in the first place, if we're going to be real, because Glavatsky wasn't the Glavatsky that he could have been, and he's faded anyway, but he wasn't at the races realistically. But you got that during lockdown, probably got paid very well for that fight as well, I would assume, or well enough. You got bought a 50 grand watch because a guy promised he would do it if you won the title, and he kept his word. You then got to fight in front of 65,000 people at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on a Anthony Joshua undercard. Very, very soft defense against Dylan Prasovic, who actually you made a lot harder work than it needed to be realistically. Now again, that might just be because you weren't up for it, but Isaac Chamberlain knocked him out in one round, and it took you, what, 5? Something like that? 5 or 6? I don't even remember the fight. That's how memorable it was. Then if we look at the Mikhail Cieslak fight, I was in attendance for that. There was a lot more Polish people in the arena than there was Brits or anyone for you. Like, the crowd was not there for you. So you clearly are not a draw, or not a draw like you think you are. And yet they still done that. They even didn't want you to compete against another promotion that was happening that day, which is why you ended up getting put on a Sunday instead of a Saturday. Now maybe that did mess up the numbers a bit, because, you know, maybe less people were more inclined to want to come out on a Sunday than they were on a Saturday. That could be a valid reason, but ultimately, like, they literally tried to give you your whole own platform with only you to worry about, and you couldn't capitalize on it. So you're not really a draw like that, realistically. I've been to a couple of your fights, and every time I've been to a Lawrence Okolie fight, the person he's fighting has always had more support. I was at the Isaac Chamberlain fight back in, when was that, 2018? 2017, 2018? Like, everyone in the arena was there for Isaac Chamberlain. Like, virtually no one was there apart from a few penny boys was there for Lawrence Okolie. And this whole being the face of Sky Sports and Boxer, that to me doesn't really make much sense, because they've been pumping a huge amount of money into Richard Riakporhe. Now, whether or not Richard Riakporhe is on Okolie's level or not, I don't know. But, like, I'm not being funny here. I know who I would much rather see looking back at me on the screen between Riakporhe and Okolie. Like, one of them is a lot less desirable to the public than the other. I mean, Riakporhe, better backstory. You know, they pump the backstories and they have the narratives all day long. Well, he's got a better backstory. Speaks better, speaks clearer, like, looks better. I'm sure women, and most women will agree, looks better, got better body, better aesthetics in the way that his body is constructed and shaped. Like, it would seem like he is the guy that they're putting the money behind. Now, apart from maybe being, 3 years older than Okolie, like, I don't really see why you would then switch that to someone else. It doesn't make much sense to me. But I wanna reserve some judgment here. Like, I don't wanna go full in on what he's said about Eddie Hearn, because, like I said, I don't know the background between what's going on. But from what I can see, ultimately, without further information and evidence, I just feel like that was a real dick move. And I don't really see how you can get many people on your side when, like I said, like, man's not a draw. you don't draw. You're not commercially viable. So if you feel like you should be treated the same way as a Canelo or an AJ or even a Chisora, like, I'm sorry, you're just not on that level commercially, because no one's coming to your fights, and that's just unfortunately the harsh reality of it. But you know what, like I said, I'm gonna leave that there, because I want this story to unfold a bit more. But yeah, on this particular occasion, I got to kind of side with Eddie Hearn until further stuff comes out, because all of this are when I can say stuff, the truth's gonna. Well, then don't say nothing until you can say something, because right now you're giving tidbits to something that no one's gonna have sympathy for, because they don't understand what you're going through. But yeah, let me leave that there, and I need to see more, basically. Oh, and just before I go, I want to say a big shout out to the new followers that have subscribed to the channel. I'm over that second milestone, so I'm over the 250 right now, and my last video was done pretty well numbers wise, so I'm hoping that trend continues moving forward. I do plan to be a bit more active this week after last week, and hopefully, like I said, when I get my new stand, it'll be business as usual. But for now, thank you everyone for watching. I appreciate all the new supporters. I appreciate the support. Like and subscribe. Share friends with share this with the friend, colleague, family, all that other stuff that I usually say. But for now, Hardcore Casual out.